want to move on to the next topic. Liberty. So religious liberty, and I know that we had a church security bill, so I'm going to put Matt, we're going to video this. Matt Rinaldi back on spotlight for this one. Tell us what happened with that, and then I want to talk about other religious liberty kind of wins and losses, what was on the calendar that we didn't see.
So the church security bill was one of the pieces of legislation I proposed as a standalone bill in the House of Representatives. In case you guys didn't know this, you might have had church security or volunteers providing security services in church, and I was shocked to hear that it was actually, even for unarmed security, illegal and a criminal violation to provide security services. It's a Class A misdemeanor for your first offense and a felony for your subsequent offenses. And the word security is defined in code so broad as to include running a lost and found or directing traffic in the parking lot. So actually, it wasn't, I don't think there's been many arrests due to this, but if anybody was injured while directing traffic in a parking lot, they actually don't have to prove negligence to recover in a lawsuit against the church. So it was a big risk to churches across the state. What I did with my bill was just say, if you're volunteers in your church and you're volunteering for a church or a place of worship, the occupational licensing code does not apply, and you're free to do it. So we ended up, we didn't pass my bill. However, I passed my bill as an amendment on another bill. It got signed into law by Governor Abbott. We worked with Senator Kelly Hancock also in getting it passed on the Senate side. And it's currently law now, goes into effect September 1st. So even though your security today is illegal, September 1st you'll be good.
Yeah, so basically Gateway is like a criminal enterprise. All the transportation they have going on, which is unbelievable. But some other religious liberty things that we did is some of us, we'd filed, maybe 20 pieces of religious liberty legislation this time, and one of the big pieces was the First Amendment Defense Act, FODA, as it's called. And basically what it says is that you cannot be penalized by the government if you hold a certain view on marriage. It cuts both ways. It doesn't matter what your view is on marriage. The government can't penalize you. And we're seeing that in state after state, where just because of a person's belief, whether or not a man should marry a woman, whether or not whatever it is, they're getting penalized by the government in some extreme and harsh ways. And so we said that's not good. Well, we couldn't get any legs to that legislation. So we had to start finding pockets where we could add them on as amendments, this type of legislation, and most of those are in our sunset bills, which means your sunset bills are all your agencies and state departments, which have to go periodic review to, are we going to continue this agency or are we not? And so that's a great place to load up amendments and get some policy in there. And so for a couple of different agencies, we were able to put some of this religious liberty protection in. One was pharmacists, and you don't really think of the pro-life issues with pharmacies, but we wanted to make sure that they didn't have to prescribe or dispense, or not prescribe, but dispense certain drugs that they felt violated their conscience, right? If it's an abortifacient, whatever it is, we wanted to make sure they weren't put in a place where they had to do that. So we put in religious protections for them. Nurses as well, and a lot of times they're called to help out with procedures. There may be some procedures, such as an abortion, they're not comfortable with, they don't want to have any part in, or it goes against their conscience. And so we wanted to make sure they didn't have to participate in anything where it would burden their conscience or their religious liberty or their exercise of religion. And then one of the other ones we did was, ironically, the State Bar of Texas for attorneys. And Representative Rinaldi and I are both licensed attorneys, but the ABA, the American Bar Association, had promulgated a rule that said you cannot discriminate in your practice of law. And discrimination was defined so broadly, it even took into account your social relationships in your civic groups. So basically, if you were a member of the Christian Legal Society, if you went to Gateway Church, if you went to anywhere or were a part of any group or organization that held a fundamental belief of marriage as one man and one woman, it held any kind of other thing that could be seen as discriminatory against any group of people, you could be in danger of losing your license if Texas had taken the same kind of rule, adopted the same kind of rule that the ABA had. So we put in protections for Board of Law examiners, those taking the test. Because you can imagine one day people are trying to take the bar exam and it's on their sheet, they're in the Federalist Society or the Christian Legal Society, and people are like, nope, discriminatory purpose, they can't even sit for the bar. So we didn't want that to happen. So those are just 3 areas where we couldn't get the broad religious liberty laws, but we found little pockets to make sure we were protecting some individuals' rights, and hopefully we can expand that even more.
So